Have you ever wondered how ancient practices like traditional Chinese medicine can help alleviate modern day ailments? Even if you don't yet know about the fundamentals of traditional Chinese medicine, you're probably familiar with some of its practices. Maybe you've had an acupuncture session or taken turmeric for arthritis pain or signed your kid up for a class at a local Tai Chi studio. Or maybe you've just wondered about those circular bruises on the backs of your favorite Olympic swimmer. Each of these practices is based in traditional Chinese medicine. Today, we have a particularly special guest whose expertise bridges ancient traditional wisdom and modern health solutions. Dr. Andrew Moser is a licensed doctor of Oriental medicine. Dr. Moser specializes in traditional Chinese medicine and esoteric acupuncture. Dr. Moser will explain what traditional medicine is, what treatments it includes, and the many benefits it provides to whole body wellness and well-being. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Happiness on Top podcast, where we bring you inspiring stories and practical insights for a happier, more fulfilling life. Your go-to podcast for uplifting conversations that stir the heart and ignite the spirit. I'm your host, Leanne Herron, a certified health and life coach and the owner of Finding Resilience with Leanne. Please welcome Dr. Andrew Moser to the Happiness on Tap podcast. Welcome to the show, Dr. Moser. Thank you for joining me.
Hey, Leon. Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
I'm so excited
Very
to
much look
have this
forward to it.
conversation.
Yes, thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this.
Great. At Sacred Patterns Acupuncture, Dr. Moser has helped countless individuals find relief from acute and chronic pain, stress, and various other health conditions. He aims to guide patients towards optimal well-being by addressing the root cause of their health concerns. He provides personalized treatment plans that target individuals' specific needs, ensuring that they feel healthier and more balanced. I love it. So let's get started. Can you tell us about your background and what inspired you to pursue a career in traditional Chinese medicine?
Yeah, it's a great first question. To be honest, Chinese medicine and acupuncture wasn't on my bingo card to begin with. It was never even thought, conception. I remember driving past and seeing signs as a kid and growing up, but seeing the meridians and thinking that's interesting. But uh, becoming an actual practitioner was beyond my perception. So, yeah, my story, I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's where my practice is located. And I've been living in Albuquerque since 2003. And so this is state number 6 for me. And I've moved around quite a bit as a kid. People ask me oftentimes, am I a military brat? The answer is no. I'm more of I guess, a corporate brat. My dad is now retired. He's was a hospital administrator. I got to experience Western medicine through hospital administration, through my dad, through all these moves. My mom is also an RN, so Western medicine is what I grew up in. Uh, So after graduating high school, I went to UNM and did the normal route. I started off in business, but originally I was really sort of jaded with corporate America and whatnot. After my first semester, I'm like, I'm gonna do me, and I went into photography, and it was a fun, very rewarding experience. Learned some of the best tools that I use today, including things like Photoshop. And then I went into advertising, realized that that wasn't a really good fit for me either. And around that time period, my stepdad came into my life, and he's a world-renowned entrepreneur. And I was like, wow, entrepreneurship, you can do business not in a corporate fashion. I was like, this is awesome. So I went into business. I got my undergrad in entrepreneurship, and then UNM offered some really nice incentives for me to continue my MBA. So much so that I actually got two MBAs, one in marketing and one in management of technology. Management of technology is the commercialization of intellectual property. So for about 10 years, I did a lot of business development, specifically a lot in alternative exotic type of energy developments. Um, so the point of all that is like I was always drawn to energy, and uh, after my last endeavor fell through, I became very upset with the universe, and so I did a lot of soul searching, and I was like, I can't keep doing this, trying to push a mountain up a boulder up a mountain and have it just fall back down on me. And I was always cultivating business for someone else. And ultimately, I wanted to cultivate a business for me and develop my skill sets. And so through a lot of searching, I was given the advice of becoming a healer or a lawyer. And my mom always said I was meant to be a lawyer with how much I argued with her as a child, but uh, I was drawn more to healing. So again, background in energy and just passion of energy in general. And then one of my hobbies, passions at home is I'm a green thumb. I like to garden. I like to do all these things. So the idea of herbs and energy is like Chinese medicine. That sounds like a good fit. And then on top of it, it is a licensed profession. So in the state of New Mexico, I'm a doctor of Oriental Medicine. So with all that aligned and there being a school here in New Mexico, I decided to pursue it. Um, I originally, when I went through school the first time, I avoided all the hard sciences, so biology, chemistry, and all those things. I did everything I could to not take those classes. So now that I'm going to become a doctor, I'm like, I need to prove to myself that I can pass these classes. So I enrolled at CNM thinking it was a better way to get my feet wet and experience if I can pass these exams. So I did that for 2 years. I took all the biology, chemistry, microbiology, organic chemistry, all those fun things, and I managed to pass. I enrolled at into Southwest Acupuncture College. SWAC is the acronym. They had a campus here in Albuquerque, but that closed in about 2017. And then they had a campus up in Santa Fe and one in Boulder. So I attended the Santa Fe campus. I drove up to Santa Fe about 3, 4 times a week for 4 years approximately. And it was easily one of the most challenging but best choices I've ever made in my life. And the whole medicine is not just a medicine, it's a philosophy. It is so encompassing. It is a complete medicine. And because of that, I'm happy mistakes. I mean, I don't want to call it a mistake, but just how my life sort of meandered and took me to this journey of becoming a doctor of Oriental medicine. So that's my story in a nutshell.
That is, wow, quite a story. A lot more new stuff that I've learned about you. So thank you for sharing all of that. You definitely went with the right choice in healing over going into law. My background is, I was 13 years in working in legal,
Wow.
um, and really found that that was an energy drain. It was not the career that I hoped that it would be, helping people. I mean, yes, I was helping my attorney and he was helping people, but it wasn't passion for me. It was just something I was good at. I had really strong organizational skills. I had gotten my degree in legal studies to be a paralegal, so I had the education to back it and I had the natural skill to do it, but I had no passion for it. It was just such a drain on my energy, on my good energy. So
Thank you
you
for sharing.
definitely made the right choice.
I appreciate that.
What are some of the foundational principles of traditional Chinese medicine?
Oh man, such a good question. So many different rabbit holes that go down. I'm going to try and keep all this conversation at surface level, more or less. I mean, I'm going to go down as deep as I need to, but yeah, yeah, this might be a good time. I think I'm going to share a screen if that's all right with you.
Mhm.
Um, Alrighty. So the first and foremost thing that everyone probably has heard of is this concept of qi. Um, what is qi? And there's many pillars of Chinese medicine, and qi being one of them. Hence, the thing that I was drawn to in Chinese medicine, the energy aspect. Um, Qi can everything in Chinese medicine can mean many different things. From a Western biomedical perspective, it can be ATP. All the It's what all of our cells use for metabolic purposes. And that provides us energy to live our existence throughout the day. But in Chinese medicine, it is more than that. It's not just the energy to do things. It also has many other, it's easier to talk about its functions more than just energy because it's very big concept. Uh, and you might have heard of Qigong, Qi being energy, Gong being cultivation. So all these movements that we do, it's about bringing awareness into our presence and bringing forth the best version of ourselves. And so, I mean, I think that's a very foundational piece. Um, but so let's go through these a little bit. Some of the functions. The first and foremost being protecting. Um, Qi protects us. So, like our Wei Qi is like our immune system. So this helps us prevent from catching colds and things like that. Energy warms us, Qi warms us. So you think about if you go for a run or you exercise, you burn some calories, you burn a sweat, and ultimately we are warm-blooded beings, and it's important for us to stay warm. Transforming and transporting, this is particularly important for water metabolization. If water is and fluids are not transformed and transported properly, then we can have fluid retention, edema, things like that. Holding are we're meant to be upright, so organs are meant to be upright, and so if organs aren't upright, then you can have things like prolapse. So chi is meant to help keep us upright, and as we age, we tend to sink down more. And then raising, uh, I think about this as far as our energy goes. So if like we're in a depressed state, our energy is suppressed and little, small, we just want to curl up into a ball. But if we're full of life, our energy, our chi is at the highest pinnacle that it can be. Some of the other things that was very common in Chinese medicine is yin and yang. It's pronounced yang in Chinese medicine. So yin is the shady side of the hill, or more akin to the moon. Yang is the sunny side of the hill, and more akin to the sun. There are many different potentials of what yin and yang can mean in Chinese medicine, but in essence, is a balance of fire and water. Humans are a balance of fire and water. And so sometimes if we get cold, whether it be the extremities or become systematically cold, then our homeostasis gets out of balance. And then water metabolization, again, if that's not if edema builds up, then that's not a healthy thing. If we become too dry, then you can have a dehydration or various other symptoms can manifest. So as you can see, there's a lot of different potentials of what yin and yang can mean. It's always in relation to something else. So it is a constant throughout the universe. You can't separate these things. It's like electrons and protons, in positive and negative poles. You can't separate the two. And if you do, then I guess you have a nuclear explosion potentially. But outside of that, their natural homeostasis is the balance. Yeah, some of these other major things in Chinese medicine that we look at is what we call like Shen or spirit. So looking at this young girl, her spirit is alive and she just, I mean, it's there to greet you. She's filled with life. And again, so when we talk about like being in a depressed state, our spirit doesn't want to greet the world in any way. So when I'm observing patients, we observe their spirit or their Shen, and is it on point? Is it aloof? Is it present? Is it not? These are all important factors for Chinese medicine. Then we have blood. Blood is not just the red stuff that pumps through our veins, but it is also the energetic of blood in Chinese medicine. If we're deficient, then you can get like brittle nails, dry hair, dry skin, things like that. And you can also get lightheaded, dizziness, because there's not enough blood going up to the head. And then we look at pathogens. So the idea of viruses and bacteria are not a part of our vocabulary. It is in today's modern times, but when Chinese medicine was developed, we used nature as our foundational reference points. We didn't have microscopes to look at what is these minute things. So we have things what we call pathogens, exterior things coming at us called wind. The wind is usually outside of us. We can have internal wind, another conversation, but external pathogenic wind, it can be combined with cold or heat. So if you get like a wind cold, you think of like a neck, headache, more chills and fever, more of a runny nose. If you cough, it's more clear sputum. Um, wind heat is more of like fever versus chills, and more of a sore throat and um, more of thirst and things like that. Looking at this knee picture real quick, the picture, I guess on the right is a healthy looking knee, and then the picture that my apologies. The patient's right knee is not a healthy. It's swollen. The patient's left knee looks like a healthy knee. Um, so the red swollenness, the swollenness we would consider dampness in Chinese medicine, and the redness being heat. So we would say like there's damp heat in the knee. And then along the lines of dampness, dampness can be cooked and into phlegm, and phlegm can be substantial or insubstantial. So insubstantial would be like you feel like you've got something stuck in your throat, but there's nothing actually there. And it can also like manifest as brain fog. So like walking into a room, like, why did I walk in here? Um, these are all different things that pathogens that we look at. So there's probably a lot more information than you anticipated, but I mean, so everything from qi to yin and yang, the Shen, the person's spirit, blood, and various pathogens. These are all foundational pillars of Chinese medicine. This is how we diagnose people. So we look at these various different states and potential pathogens that are present, and this is what helps us come to a diagnosis and how we're able to help patients out.
That is really fascinating, and I would love to pick your brain just a little bit more on
Sure.
brain fog because one, that is something that I struggled with severely when I was in trauma response. And also finding out that I was damaging my own self by not eating fish. I'm not a fish eater of any sort. So I know that my poor brain is lacking in omegas, but I would love to know more about what you know about what causes brain fog.
I mean, the answer with everything in Chinese medicine is it depends. Generally speaking, there has to be a presence of dampness. So you have like your yin fluids, your healthy fluids, and then you have dampness, and then it coagulates into more phlegm. So it's degrees of severity, if you will. And so diet is a big factor. Um, so overly sweet foods, um, deep fried foods, often dairy. These are all oftentimes in Chinese medicine seen as damp forming foods. And then if it's long standing, or if there's trauma, there's stress, or there's some other factor that helps progress it to phlegm, it can miss the mind. It can also be a characteristic of a person's constitution. There could be potential actual trauma to the head, a traumatic brain injury, TBI. I mean, that's not necessarily phlegm causing brain fog per se. It's more of like a trauma-based response. So uh, those are a lot of the main factors. I mean, it could also be climate driven. So if we live in I mean, living in a desert like you and I, we live in a dry, humid, arid environment. But if we lived in along the coast or in the rainforest and places like that, where it's very humid, our environments can be an influential factor on us as well. So diet, food, constitution, our environment. These are all various factors that can sort of lead to what we call phlegm potentially.
Fascinating. I think of it in terms of like you said, we're in a desert. My skin is traditionally dry. My sinuses get very dried out. My eyes are dry. Um, so I have to do kind of things to add a little bit of moisture back into my body. But just making sure I'm hydrated is, a huge benefit.
There's unfortunately there's no like black and white answer. I'm sure that you would like, or any of us would like, to be more honest. Uh, it could just be a combination of various things that contribute to this. I mean, so my job is to recognize it, and then I provide acupuncture and herbs and things like that to help resolve it. So maybe how it manifested is important, especially if it's a lifestyle perspective, because if the lifestyle perspective isn't addressed, then it's going to probably keep reoccurring. But if it's something beyond that, that acupuncture and herbs can help resolve, then that's my role as a practitioner.
Great, great, great to know. Lots of things to consider and think about.
Yep.
So acupuncture is your specialty, but I know you have
Yes.
other modalities. What are some of the many benefits that people can get from acupuncture?
Great. Fantastic question. So, yeah, most time people think of acupuncture for the aches and pains. And that's one of the things that we're extremely good at. But traditional Chinese medicine or Oriental medicine is a complete medicine. So the concept of mind, body, spirit, I can't say originally originates from us, but I mean, it truly is an absolute foundational pillar of Chinese medicine. So, um, some of the modalities that we use, I mean, well, actually, that that being able to treat mind, body, spirit, it's not just the aches and pains. We're able to treat internal medicine as well. And I didn't really talk about the channels greatly, but each of the channels or the meridians are different organ systems, and each of the meridians are able to connect to the different organs. So that's how we're able to treat internal conditions. Um, but again, we can focus on the musculoskeletal level and help with the aches and pains. And then, as I just shared in the with the slides, we look at people's Shen and spirits. So you can't separate the body from the spirit. I mean, if you do, that's death. So if you were able to help treat the spirits very well, compared to other options out there. So this is how we're able to help all those different conditions. I mean, there's a huge amount of things, so I can just go through some system conditions just for conversation's sake. So we talked about like exterior pathogens. We deal with these things. We've helped various pandemics throughout the centuries. I mean, Chinese medicine's been around for 3,000 years. We've seen medicine has seen lots of cycles of life. Um, so exterior pathogens we help out with. We help with sinus issues that could be allergies, respiratory issues, so coughing, wheezing, shortness of breath, digestive issues, so bloating, gas, constipation, um, food retention, um, digestive issues in general. And then we can help with reproductive issues. This can be everything from menstrual issues to fertility, both male and female. Um, we can help with urination, defecation issues, whether there's like an STI, UTI potentially, um, hesitancy, frequency. These all things may be a process, but these are things that we can help out with. We can help out with headaches. We can help out with sleep, insomnia issues, anxiety, depression, grief. These are all lots of different things. Some of the major common questions that I get asked is like cancer, and we do not treat cancer. That's not part of our practice, but we can help with the symptoms of cancer and the side effects of the treatment of cancer. So we can be a support mechanism, but we can also be a standalone uh, medicine in our own rights. And then we have a lot that you touched on modalities. Uh, I'm going to talk briefly about some of the different modalities, if that's okay.
Yep,
Um,
perfect.
so I mean, acupuncture, the needles is what everyone thinks about, but I've talked about Chinese herbs, and I'm an herbalist. Everyone that practices in the state of New Mexico had to pass the take and pass the herbal exam boards. I didn't talk about that. Just very briefly, after graduating, there are 5 board exams that we have to pass, 4 nationals and 1 state board here in New Mexico, which is much more than many other professions. And they have their challenges as well. The high standards to pass as well is what I'm trying to say. Um, okay, so I'm an herbalist. We formulas are often comprised of more than one herb to help balance out the formula, because I've given the example, like if someone is cold and we give them warming herbs, then we could potentially like dry them out, because think about if you boil some water, what evaporates. So you need to give some yin nourishing herbs in there, or fluid nourishing herbs in there as well. So herbs are a major part of Chinese medicine. So acupuncture, herbs. Then we have body work, and body work can comprise of lots of different things. So we have Tui Na, which is Chinese massage. We have Gua Sha, which is scraping. We have cupping. Um, so as Leanne mentioned it in her introduction, the Olympians with the famous circle hickey marks on them, that's cupping. there are many professions today that use cupping, but I mean, it often stems from Chinese medicine. And then acupuncture herbs, yeah, those are the main pillars of Chinese medicine. There are some other aspects of tools of the trade that we can bring in. Oh, I didn't talk about moxibustion. Sorry, that's a huge thing. Moxibustion. Moxibustion is Artemisia or mugwort's root. It is like an incense. If I have some lying around here. Yeah, you can see that this is um, so this is it in the loose form. Um, it also comes in pole form and other smaller little holes, if you will, that you can stick on top of a needle. There's a lot of different configurations of it, but essentially we use that to help warm the body. Um, so between acupuncture, herbs, body work, and moxibustion, we can do an incredible amount of various different things, making Chinese medicine a complete medicine. Sorry if that was a mouthful.
Yeah, no, actually, that was very helpful. You touched a little on cupping. I don't, I've never experienced it. What exactly does it do?
Couple things. Uh, First and foremost, at a like physiological level, what does it do? It's sucking up. It's lifting up the skin. Whereas massage pushes, this helps lift up. So it's a great way of helping break up stagnation and help promoting blood flow to the sites. Um, to be more Chinese medicine technical wise, there might be cold in the body. And what does cold do? Cold constricts. So we need to help lift it up. Um, Whereas if you push it, I mean, it's not going to necessarily expel the cold. Along those same lines, we can use cupping. It's often used for people that get early stage wind cold or wind heat because it can help release the exterior. So it helps open up the pores and helps the body push out the pathogen. So by doing it along your back, it's been used. People in China and East Asia use it oftentimes for if you catch a cold and things like that. But it's more often used for musculoskeletal issues, for aches and pains and things like that by helping break up stagnation and promoting blood flow to the site.
Great. Thank you so much for explaining that because I had no clue exactly what it did.
Yeah, great question.
So you touched on, some common questions that you receive, but what are some other common questions for like somebody who's coming in new to your practice?
Sure. The first and foremost question is, does acupuncture hurt? And the funniest thing is, I get asked that question. People tell me they don't like needles, but people that tell me that are oftentimes covered head to toe in tattoos and piercings, and it's just like, you like those needles. But acupuncture is, I like to say, it's not painful, but it's not painless. So oftentimes you may feel it go in, and you may not even feel it go in sometimes. But you may feel it go in, but then it quickly disperses and you don't notice it. There are some um, styles of acupuncture or treatments rather that are more aggressive, and you may need to um, someone's got like plantar fasciitis or really bad sciatica or something like that, you may need to be a little bit more aggressive to try and break up that stagnation. Um, of course, you always are in communication with the patient through this process to make sure that they're able to withstand this level. But yeah, the most common question is, does it hurt? But in general, the way I like to practice is acupuncture is meant to be a time of healing, help us get into what we call parasympathetic states, so rest, digest, relax. Whereas most of us operate in the sympathetic state of fight or flight to just go, 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 go. So acupuncture treatments offer an escape from the world to be able to relax and to heal. So the needles help people get into that parasympathetic state. So overall, my style of treating, I like to be more on the gentle, um, relaxing end of the spectrum, but when need be, I will be more aggressive when appropriate or needed. But in general, it's meant to be more of a relaxing experience. People often say they have the best naps of their life in an acupuncture treatment. So um, those are common questions. What else do I get asked? How many treatments will it take? Uh, that's a super hard question to answer. As I alluded to earlier, common response to Chinese medicine is it depends. Uh, so I've seen if someone comes in and they got shoulder pain, I may be able to knock it out in a treatment or two. I mean, it all depends. But there may be some conditions that, like stroke patients or infertility or just really chronic, hard to resolve things, may be a process. I mean, Parkinson's, for instance, I don't think we necessarily resolve Parkinson's, but I think that we can help mitigate the symptoms of Parkinson's. So it's a process. I mean, that's not going to be a one and done thing. So depending on the situation, uh, anywhere from a couple treatments to uh, many treatments. And then acupuncture is great in being a preventative or against various ailments. So it's a common saying in Chinese medicine that it's way easier to prevent a disease than to cure a disease. So there are many patients that come and get acupuncture every couple of weeks, every month or so, just as a tune-up to try and help prevent against various ailments that might be creeping around the corner. Um, some other questions. Is acupuncture does insurance and acupuncture, are they covered? The answer is yes, oftentimes. But as far as the way I practice, I only accept self-pay patients. I'm also taking workers' compensation patients. So that's a form of insurance, but it's not traditional insurance, if you will. But yeah, there are many practitioners that accept insurance. If the best thing to do is reach out to your insurance provider and ask them for providers that are in their network, and that would be the best way to find an acupuncturist within your network if that's what you're looking for. Um, and then I think the last major question I get is like side effects of acupuncture. Um, there there really aren't too many. Bruising and bleeding are potentials. I may therapeutically bleed you actually, not like a pint of blood, but maybe a couple of drops out of a finger around your fingernail, and various other spots. But bruising doesn't happen often. I mean, I'm not going to say it never happens, but it can happen. I mean, the face, for instance, there's a lot of capillaries in the face, so it's very easy that you put a needle in very shallow and not do any manipulation, but it just hit the wrong capillary and it caused bruising or something like that. So those are the main things. Oftentimes people can get, it's not a common saying is people can get like accustoned. So they can walk out of the treatment just like, ooh, I mean, on a cloud. So it, those are all probably happy things, not necessarily negative side effects. So yeah, those are the main questions that I get. Is there any other questions that you commonly think of with acupuncture?
Um, no, but you did touch on some things that I hadn't thought of for treatments. for
Okay.
ailments. You brought up plantar fasciitis, um, which is very common. I
Sure.
actually ended up, after trying everything through a podiatry, you know, tape and massage and um, water and all the different things, ended up just having the surgery on both of my feet. I had one, and then, of course, by the time that one healed, the other one was bad. So I had surgery on that to fix it. Probably the best thing I ever did for myself. But knowing that there is other options, I know my daughter has it real severe now. Um, so for me to be able to tell her, well, have you considered trying acupuncture to see if that would help relieve the issues? It's just great to hear of things that we don't think of, that we just think of Western medicine. Um, and that's, part of, what connected you and I, is wanting to get the word out to people that there are alternatives that work either in conjunction with, or that people can try outside of Western medicine to try to alleviate some of these issues.
Yeah. Did the massage help your plantar fasciitis?
Um, yes and no,
Yeah.
not enough. I lived in a two-story house with wood floors. So, I'd get out of bed and about shoot out the ceiling, and then have to try to walk downstairs. And, I even use the stairs for stretching. Um, but eventually, it was just too much, and I wasn't getting the relief that I needed. So
Sure.
surgery became the next option.
But that helped you. I mean, ultimately, the end result is the main goal, right? So pain-free life is a good life.
Pain-free life is a good life. Um, you touched on another one, that I, again, hadn't thought about treatment for. Uh, I had some, like, really intense pain in my shoulder for a long period of time. I thought it was relating to a car accident where we were sideswiped, and I had my arm, right against the door. So my shoulder took the brunt of it. Um, but then I had also heard, and I'd never heard this term before, also, was frozen shoulder, which they say is in relation to like menopause. Um, but either way, I didn't really know how to treat it, how to make it any better. I just kind of tolerated it for the longest amount of time. Again, knowing that there's other avenues out there that can provide relief that I probably should have thought of, but didn't.
Yeah, I mean, frozen shoulder is also very common with like after you get a vaccination or a shot or something like that. Um, yeah, those are all no fun conditions. I've treated frozen shoulder. Some are more challenging than others, but yeah, ultimately, I mean, any ache and pain in the body, there's a good chance that we can do something with.
Good to know. Really, really great to know. What would a new person coming into your practice kind of expect for a first visit?
Sure, great question. Yeah, so say they call me or meet me or whatever, and they schedule appointments. I'll get them in the system, and then I'm gonna get their contact information, phone number, email. Those are the big things. And then they're gonna get an email sent over to them of an initial intake form to a series of check boxes and maybe a couple fill in the blank. Um, if you've been given a diagnosis, what diagnosis have you been given? And you type it out, type of thing. Um, so that gets sent over to me automatically. When the patient comes in for treatment, I ask them oftentimes to wear shorts or pants that can roll up easily. It makes life a whole lot easier. Um, Yeah, I mean, preferably not like a dress or like a onesie or something like that, because there's a lot of wonderful points on the abdomen or back. That if that's the case, then I just work with what I'm available to work with, and I do other points. But in general, you loose clothing is most ideal. So once they're here, I the first treatment is is my main intake. So I go through all the different systems. I ask them tons of different questions. Oftentimes people are like, "Oh, no one's ever asked me that one before." Um, so again, all the system reviews, and this gives me a good background on the person's constitution, the various characteristics of their elements that they might be facing. So I mean, I'm looking at things for like hot or cold, sharp or dull pain, the time of day that maybe things are worse. Does something make it better? Um, how long it's been going on? Was there a preceding trauma or incident that brought this on? What's their surrounding emotions like? Because emotions, uh, Chinese medicine, we say emotions are the cause of 10,000 diseases. So we store our emotions in our body, and that can become the disease that ails us later on. Um, so getting a good idea, even though they might be in for shoulder pain, for instance, I'm getting a full constitutional understanding of the person. And then not every practitioner, but we're all taught, I feel pulse. So it's three fingers. Um, it's a little hard to see like that. Um, so each finger tells me a different organ, left and right. Usually I feel both of them at the same time. It's just my style. Um, but I look at the depth, I look at the rate, I look at the quality of the pulse. Is it excess? Do I feel it at a very superficial level, or do I have to press down very far to feel it? Do we call it like a deficient type of pulse? Depending on the organ that's those characteristics are felt in, that can give me an idea, is there excess or deficiency in that organ. So this is all further diagnostic of the overall constitution. Then I look at the tongue. Again, I'm looking at shape, color, moisture levels. Is there a quiver? Things like that. That also tells me the various organs, the health of various organs in the body. So those all become data points. I don't necessarily diagnose off just a single data point. They all just become a constellation of information. So again, I might be treating the shoulder pain, but then I get an overall like, oh, this person might be spleen chi deficient overall or something like that. And so I'm there to get rid of the shoulder pain, but I may very well put a couple needles in to help with their constitutional imbalance to help try and ultimately safeguard against further ailments. It's there's always more that can be worked on, but first and foremost is what the patient is coming in for. Treatments are an hour and a half for $100 with me. My office is located on Lomas Monroe, right next to Los Cuates. The next closest intersection is San Mateo and Lomas. There's the Sprouts there at the intersection. And then on the next light west of San Mateo on Lomas. So again, Monroe and Lomas, right across from Los Cuates. The practice I work in, this is an acupuncture clinic. There's three of us in here. We're all DOMs. So yeah, I think that those are what to expect, especially the first time they come in. Then I like to try and schedule follow-up treatments. If it's a really acute situation, probably once a week for a month or so, depending. If it's more subacute, maybe every 2, 3 weeks. And then if it's just a regular maintenance thing, maybe 3, 4 weeks would be idealistic. Yes, those are sort of big broad strokes.
So is that part of it kind of where you're creating like a treatment plan for your patients? Or
Yeah, I
is there
mean,
something even deeper than that?
it ultimately comes down to is what is the patient looking for? Um, I've had people come in and I was able to knock their shoulder pain out in 1 or 2 treatments, and that's all they wanted. And um, whereas some people are more interested in their overall health and realize that this is a process and are more regular about treatments and things like that. And again, some maybe if it's Parkinson's, if it's a stroke, if it's MS, if it's any of these really chronically severe conditions, 1 or 2 treatments isn't going to do it, likely. I mean, it's going to be a series, or I don't want to say a lifetime, but I mean, if we can provide relief for a period of time and then another treatment, I mean, that's better than having to be on medication that entire time, or maybe a reduced amount of medication in that period of time. So, um, we have our limitations. We don't treat everything. Definitely, there's some stubborn conditions out there. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It does. And, I think the one thing that intrigues me the most from a patient perspective is your
Sure.
time considering whole body, you know, not just the ailment. So, my frustration, of course, is with Western medicine. The 10-minute appointment, here's a prescription and they send you on your way, or they give you a referral to a specialist and they send you on your way, but they don't take the time, and that for them is their limitation. you know they got to push out. The more patients they push out, the more money they bring in. um, but knowing that there are practitioners, usually entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, that will take that time, because to me, from a patient perspective, that's what I need. I need someone to see me, hear me, ask all the right questions, make suggestions, offer results. I don't want to go to my primary care physician and leave with a prescription that I don't need, and for a medication that I don't want to be on for a lifetime.
It may not be just one medication, maybe a series of medications to offset various side effects and things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
we all have our limitations. It's easy for each of us to point the finger and say, "Hey, look at that," or "Look at this," and um, it's all too easy. And I don't want to go down that route too much. So yes, I think it's really important to be able to an amazing opportunity that we as practitioners have to be able to provide that time for patients to hear things. I mean, my major responsibilities is also looking for various red flags that might be present in a presentation, and it's not an awesome thing, but it's also it's good and bad. I mean, helping find someone get an early detection of a cancer diagnosis or something like that is never a fun thing. But I mean, by helping recognize these things can maybe help save their life and whatnot. So, um, yes, these are all wonderful opportunities that us as practitioners have available to us. I think that's why people enjoy coming to see practitioners like us, because we offer that service to them.
Absolutely. I think I've only had maybe 1 or 2 acupuncture sessions. It was many, many years ago. It was to quit smoking. But I remember, like you said, just leaving there thinking, man, that was like the most relaxed I have been. And I think that for me was finding a place where I felt safe and I felt that I could just relax and let go and trust in, what was being done to me. Um, and just really be able to relax into it and get out of, like you said, being constantly stressed out and how my body reacted to that. So yeah, again, that's just another thing that I found for me was value, getting in a place where I was relaxed and comfortable and felt safe. Same thing, that I try to offer my clients in my coaching practice is to provide them a safe space where they feel safe in talking about different things that they would maybe never talk about with anybody else. And I really love the one thing that you said, emotions are the cause of 10,000 diseases.
Yeah,
You
can be.
know, yeah. And I can honestly see that from personal experience. I had developed chronic hives, um,
Sure.
months and months and months in and out of the hospital, um, having to get shots. But they would just, the next morning they were back, and, my doctor would just keep referring me. Here, go to this doctor. Here, go to an allergist. Have this test done. Here, go to this doctor. Here, go to this doctor. And at no point did any of those doctors ever ask me my stress level. It kind of took me figuring it out for myself in what I was going through, with both of my children, um, that had to be the cause of it, because there was like, it wasn't lotions, it wasn't changes in, different my environment, all these other things. And I was like, it's not allergies. I'm not allergic to milk. So, mentioning that, um, also with the trauma I went through, that was new to me. That was like a foreign environmental change. I had never experienced all of the things that were my body was going through because of trauma. Because it wasn't trauma from today, it was trauma from 20 years prior.
Sure.
I didn't know the concept of your body hangs on to trauma. I didn't know, I was so busy just raising kids and having a job. And I didn't go to college until I was in my 30s. So I didn't have that knowledge, that basic knowledge. Um, so, finding out again that there are practitioners that consider the whole body, the emotions, the brain, the everything is so valuable. And I absolutely appreciate what you do.
Yeah, thank you. I will say though that I mean it is good to rule out those things like allergies and detergents and whatnot. I mean, so even though that proved to not be the cause or the source, I mean it's still good to rule those things out. So I'm glad that you're able to find a conclusion to that and a solution. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. It was an interesting experience going to an allergist, and going through all those tests. Um, and I agree, it's good to have that information in my toolbox. I look at everything in that way. To me, knowledge is power. And so when I get knowledge, it's great to have. Um, tell people where they can find you. You mentioned your address.
Yep.
Um, where else?
I'll mention the address one more time. So address is 605 Monroe Street, Northeast, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Um, and then I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Nextdoor under Sacred Patterns Acupuncture. Um, and then I just started up a LinkedIn page this past week. So Dr. Andrew Moser is how you can find me there. I'm still building that page up. So it's a process with any new social that you start out. And then my website, Dr. Moser, Dr. Moser, Moser.org. So drmoser.org, drmoser.org. Yeah, those are the main places that you can find me. I also do a lot of events here in town. So I I've been doing the rail yard market every other week. So this coming Sunday I'll be at the rail yard market, and then so that's the 13th, I believe, and then the 29th, I think, is the last market of the season. Um, and then I do lots of various health fair events and things like that to try and, I mean, it takes a lot educating people about what Chinese medicine is capable of and what it is and all these different things. So being a practitioner is not just helping heal people, but it's also educating people and getting my awareness out there. So I try and do as many various events, and then I share my experiences on social media. So if you're not able to come to those events, and you can follow me there. Yeah, again, Sacred Parents Acupuncture on most of my accounts, and drmoser.org is the place to. If you want to schedule an appointment with me, you can email me at info@drmoser.org, or you can call me at 505-317-9915. Either of those are wonderful ways to get a hold of me and get appointments scheduled.
Wonderful. I will make sure to include all of that information in the show notes so that people can find you. I definitely want to thank you for your time, your insights. It has been enlightening for me, as well as, having you be a participant for my Choose Change panel, because that's my purpose, is to educate people. I think the more that we can do to educate people on the services that we offer, and how we can connect with each other in the community is such a valuable resource. So, I think it's great, all of the events that you do. I've checked them out on your website. Your blogs are fantastic. So, I hope people take the time to go out there and check out your website and see everything that you offer, as well as the events that you do.
Yeah,
To our, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say thank you for all your ambitious efforts as well. I mean, through your podcast, through your Choose Change event. I mean, it takes a tribe to raise a community. So, I mean, you do a lot of wonderful things yourself, and I want to applaud and commend you as well.
Thank you. I appreciate. That's been kind of a passion project of mine since I opened my business, is to do what I can, not only for myself, but for others, to raise up their business, to support them, to get attention to what they do and what they offer, especially the people who were there to help me when I needed them. Like I said, I like being seen and heard and listened to, and so, these people, like, Tessa and Christine, they were so valuable in my healing that, I just want to like scream it from the rooftops so people see all of the valuable practitioners that we have in our community.
There's a, we're very blessed with the talent that we have in our community. So again, thank you for showcasing all of us and all of your wonderful efforts as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. So, to our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to the Happiness on Tap podcast for more information on living your healthiest, happiest life. And until next time, stay happy and healthy.